Today in the shop we have a 1981 Z28. We're going to go through the steps to install the new RideTech 4-link. We've already got the old suspension off the car, and now we're going to get started bolting in the new kit. Since some of our hardware mounts through the rear floor pan, first thing we need to do is remove the seats and get the carpet out of the way. Install the lower bar subframe plates in place of the original front spring mounts. Anybody who's ever taken one of these cars apart knows that this front leaf spring bucket uses these U-nuts, and they're most always they break. So we always supply new ones, and it's a really good idea to put new ones in when you put this kit on. Leave these bolts loose until we drill the holes for the mounting hardware. We need to put a little pressure on this lower subframe mount with some type of jack, either one of these or a floor jack, before we drill these two holes so it gets into position correctly. After you drill up through this bung with a 3/8, you go to the inside of the car and drill from the other side using a 5/8 drill bit. Now that we have those holes drilled, we're going to get inside the car, drop in the upper backer plate. Now we can go ahead and tighten up the bolts we put in earlier and drill the remaining holes. Now install the remaining 4 backing plates. And torque all the hardware to 45 foot-pounds. Install the aluminum rear frame bushings into the stock rear shackle bushing holes. The RideTech kit includes new rear frame rails, and we mount those to the front and rear factory spring mounts. There's a lot of inconsistency in the thicknesses of the frame rails on these cars and a lot of deterioration depending on what part of the country you live in, so we went off those mounts to ensure a good fit. Torque all 4 subframe mounting bolts to 100 foot-pounds. From the inside of the car, install the 5/8 jam nuts onto the subframe mounting bolts. Using a punch, mark the lower hole in the subframe bracket and drill a 3/8 hole. Using a die grinder or similar tool, slot the hole using the bracket as a template. From inside the car, position the upper bar bulkhead. Install the bolts in the lower holes. Leave these bolts loose so that we can center the bulkhead in the car. Center the bulkhead by measuring from each wheel well to the V-notch in the center. Drill the top 2 holes in the bulkhead and install the backer plate. At this point, we can drill the remaining holes and attach the bulkhead. The Unicradle bulkhead attaches to the transmission tunnel in the same area that the factory used to mount the seat belts. This is one of the strongest areas of the back of the car. The kit comes with a drill template to locate the holes for the upper link bars. Remove the nuts from the frame rail flange bolts. Measure between the frame rails and place a mark at the center line. Install the template with the arrow up. Align the center notch on the template with a mark on the floor pan. Using a center punch, mark your 4 drill holes. Using a 3-inch hole saw, drill your holes. Using a straight edge, Mark a reference line from circle to circle, then remove the material in between. After you make your cuts, be sure to remove any burrs or jagged edges so that the boots fit tight on your floor pan. You'll also want to make sure that the surface of the floor pan is as flat as possible so that the boots fit flush. Torque the 3/8 bolts to 45 foot-pounds, the 9/16 bolts to 110 foot-pounds. Insert the R-joint spacers into the R-joint and mount the lower bars into the front bracket. You will need to remove your old leaf spring mounting pads and weld the new upper and lower bar brackets to your rear end. At this point, we're going to reposition the rear end back into the car and mount the bars to the lower brackets. The adjustable lower mounts allow you to easily adjust the instant center and roll center at the rear of the car. Install the boots onto the upper link bars. For ease of installation, we used a small amount of silicone lubricant on the inside of the boot. With the R-joint spacers installed, position the upper bars into the bulkhead. The bars attach to the bulkhead using indexing washers. The indexing washers give you the ability to change the anti-squat values in the car. We're going to install the indexing washers with the outside offset to the front and the inside offset to the rear. That'll put us in the middle of the adjustment range, which is about 60% anti-squat. With the bars installed, torque the hardware to 75 foot-pounds. The boots install a lot like a rubber grommet. Make sure the boot is seated all the way around the floor pan. With the R-joint spacers installed, slide the upper bars into the link brackets and install the hardware. Install the upper shock crossmember. Because of the variations in the factory frame rails, you might need to loosen up the frame rail flange bolts to align the mounting holes for the upper crossmember. If you chose to install the optional rear sway bar, the bar mounts directly to the upper shock crossmember. If you're running a stock style exhaust, you may need to do some rerouting for clearance. Our vehicle is equipped with air suspension, so we're installing shockwaves. If you're running a coilover suspension, there's no difference in the installation of the coilovers or the shockwave. The rear seat frame will need to be modified to clear the bulkhead. Using the supplied safety wire, attach the frame support wire to the existing frame. Remove the hog rings from the middle section of the seat. Using the instructions as a guide, remove the lower portion of the seat frame. Using the supplied hog rings and extensions, attach the seat cover to the lower portion of the frame. With the rear seat frame modified, we can reinstall the back and bottom seats into position.